Welcome back to another practice with Inner Moon Yoga. I hope your day so far is going well. If you're doing this in the AM, awesome. If you're doing it in the afternoon, a break, or right before bed, this practice will soothe all of that. So today's practice is all about our hips. We will be working throughout the body, but our focus, our intention will be to find some opening, some more mobility and flexibility throughout the hip region. So today's practice, comfy clothes, yoga mat or a blanket underneath you. It doesn't have to be a yoga mat. Definitely will want to have blocks. If you don't have blocks, I highly recommend you spend the $12 or $15 each on 2 blocks. It's awesome for Yin Yoga. But if you don't have blocks, you can always substitute for a couple pillows to find the stability throughout your practice, okay? So blocks are not a crutch, they are a tool to help us go deeper and find the right position for ourselves, okay? So if you need to go find those things, go ahead. If you need extra cushion, then find a blanket for underneath for your yin practice, or go find a couple throw pillows or rolled up towels will work as well, okay? Otherwise your blocks. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to start in a nice child's pose today. So your version of child's pose, and again, this is when these props will come in handy. If you're someone that has any knee issues and child's pose isn't always your friend by sitting back on the heels, you can use your blocks and place them underneath your seat, and that will take the pressure off your knees, okay? And then you can come down to the elbows if that's where you're at, okay? Otherwise, if sitting back on the heels in child's pose is okay for you, you can do it without your blocks or your props today. Your version, whether you like a wider knee or a closed knee, it's up to you, okay? So you could be somewhere from here all the way to a nice wide position. And then you just bring yourself down out in front. The arms could be out in front of you. You could use a prop for the forehead. Or if your knees aren't so close together, it's always a nice option to bring your arms alongside and your forehead down to a block or your mat, okay? So there's lots of options. Another one too, if you only have one knee that causes you problems, you can come into a one-knee knee child's pose where you extend that knee that gives you trouble. And that actually gives you a nice stretch for the inner leg as well, okay? So lots of options here. So just settling into your version and just allowing yourself to close the eyes and settle in and just let go. Just take a moment to find that exhale. That let go of whatever your day has brought so far for you. Just let it go. And just giving yourself permission to be on your mat, be here in the moment, for this sweet yet deep hip opening practice. And remembering that Yin Yoga is all about making that connection, that unity with ourselves, that inner self, that soul, that true you. It's not about what you look like. It's not about whether you look like myself or what you think you should look like. It's about making that connection with the sensations, making the connection with letting go, and shedding whatever that doesn't serve you anymore. We carry so much baggage, especially in our hips. Our hips are our largest storage container in our body. It's like the largest junk drawer of who we are. And that's where we put all sorts of yucky emotions. That's where we put our anger, our frustration, our disappointment, our embarrassments. And these crazy times right now during COVID, we are finding ourselves probably feeling frustrated, aggravated, maybe some anger, and we don't even know why, but it's because we just have all those emotions and that junk drawer is overflowing, that they're coming out. And this is not a bad thing, as long as we don't spew them on anybody, right? Sometimes we do that, especially to our loved ones. But allow them to come out And the best place to do that is on your yoga mat. Just allow them to spill out, whether you understand it or not. That's okay. But just allow yourself to let go and make space in that junk drawer. Life is always going to be about emotions. There's always going to be suffering. There's always going to be difficulties in our time. But it becomes easier if we have space to hold them. So the more that we can let go and make space in that junk drawer, the easier it will be to move forward and move through other difficult times in our life. And that's sort of the whole purpose of Yin Yoga, is making space throughout the body, whether it's for emotion or for energy or for our soft tissues, to make space, to soften, to lubricate. So really just have that letting go mindset and knowing that by letting go, you're actually creating space. We'll just take 3 more rounds of breath here. And again, at any time as we move through these poses and hold for 3 or 4 minutes, if it becomes too much for you, you can always back off or come out of the pose completely. But in your own time, when you're ready, we'll just slowly release this child's pose. And we're going to come up for our only standing pose in Yin Yoga, a nice waterfall pose. So I'm going to come to my feet into what we call waterfall, but forward fold, also known as. So in a nice forward fold, the knees can certainly be bent, okay? If you find waterfall pose or forward fold pose challenging, put a really great bend in the knees. You can even bring the backs of the elbows to the tops of your thighs to try to take some of the pressure off if you have really tight hamstrings, glutes, or your calves. And just know over time, with practice, you'll find that opening, okay? If you're someone that the hands don't come anywhere near the floor, that's no problem. It does not matter what you look like, okay? Just settle into where you're at and just do your best of that letting go and of the shedding. And just know where you're at is exactly where you need to be. If you're someone that can flop all the way forward and the head touches the ground, where else are you going to go? So if you're far away from the floor, enjoy the fact that you have places to go. And just settle in and notice the sensation in your body. And just honor that. In Yin Yoga, there's 3 main principles of Yin Yoga. And the first principle is what we call just finding our edge. So just being outside your comfort zone ever so slightly, where you're feeling some sensations, you're feeling the stretch, but it's manageable. The breath is still easy and smooth. You're not gripping or grinding or trying to hold on. You're just past that edge. And often over the time, that edge can move. You'll find that opening. You'll feel like you've come a little bit closer to the floor. And that's okay, just follow that edge. That's what's called playing that edge. So just settle into that and enjoy all the work that the body's actually doing on the inside as we just hold this pose. So that's the first principle. The second principle of Yin Yoga is finding stillness in the pose. And that's not to say it's always okay to move if something's really not feeling right. Okay, if you're getting any sharpness, any burning, any true vulnerability. Okay, we don't want any pain, and there's a difference between pain and discomfort, and some of us are more of a pusher, and some of us don't push enough. So it's trying to find that middle ground where you're just outside the comfort zone. So with that stillness, if you need to move truly because there's pain, please do so. Or if you have come a little deeper, you can always follow that edge with the movement.
or if you feel like movement will help you open up. Sometimes, especially rolling the neck in any pose can sort of help you release tension and let go. You can always find those little movements. But when we say that second principle, stillness, it's really just trying to be here, be in the moment, and really enjoy the stillness. And then the third principle, and the most difficult, is time. We hold these poses for periods of time because it takes a minimum of about 90 seconds for the soft tissues of the body to get the stretch. Our dominant tissues, our muscles, will take the stretch right away, which is great. But we also want to go deeper into the soft tissues, the fascia, the connective tissue, what makes up our joints, our ligaments, our tendons. And these tissues of the body, they take time to let go and stretch out. They like a medium pressure for a period of time. That's how they like to be exercised. We'll just take 3 more rounds of breath here. Anytime, if it becomes too much, you can certainly release and come back down to your mat, no problem. And we're just going to come down into a deep squat here. So I'm going to open up my feet. My toes are going to turn out to the outer edges. And I'm going to sit down into a deep squat. If sitting in a deep squat without any props is a challenge for you, or you've never done a deep squat hold, then you're most likely going to want to use a block or two. So maybe 1 block or maybe 2 blocks, okay, to sit into your deep squat. So you could be here with blocks or pillows, or if it's okay and you are right, holding for 3 minutes in a nice squat, or maybe you hold for a minute and then you add the props. That's okay too, okay? So wherever you're at, just settling in. I like to bring my hands and interlace my fingers behind my head and bow my chin towards my chest. And that way I'm getting this really great stretch for the back of the neck, your cervical spine. The back of the neck does a lot of work. It holds up our head all day long. So I often enjoy this stretch where I can let go and soften through that region, let go of any tension. It also gets into the upper back a little bit, I find, a little bit deeper. So again, just trying to find that edge that works for you, and then just soften and let go into it. Find your breath, find your rhythm, and just staying with those exhales of letting go. So here we're getting deep into the groin and the hips, but also, especially without the props, you're probably feeling it into the feet and the ankles. Getting a full body stretch here. So really doing your best to settle into that letting go. The more we can settle into there, the deeper we get into our rest and digest side of our nervous system. The space that most of us don't spend enough time in, myself included. We're always in that fight and flight, even if we don't know it sometimes, but I think we're just so used to it. We're so used to seeing violence. We're so used to seeing tragedy around the world that we've almost become numb to it in some ways. But our body still feels it. Our body's still triggered by the images and the words and the sounds that we hear in our environment. And that's a hard thing on our physical body, not only mentally to see those, but when we see those mentally, our brain tells our physical body that we're in a state of stress. And so it puts demands on the body that we don't actually need. It puts stress onto all our organs, all our tissues. But the more that we can settle into the rest and digest, the more our brain tells our physical body to renew, to rejuvenate, to detoxify, to strengthen. And that can only happen in a state of rest. When we're living in that fight and flight, that go, 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 all we're doing is putting strain on our body. We're eating away at all those tissues. We're putting strain and stress on all the organs. We're deteriorating our physical body. So remembering the importance of stillness, of rest and digest in your life, that's the only way that you truly strengthen. We'll take 3 more rounds of breath in your version of this nice squat. And then in your own time, we're just gonna slowly release, and we're gonna bring ourselves, ooh, I feel like I'm 10 years older here. We're gonna slowly bring ourselves all the way down to our mat here. Take a block with me, just to show, and then bring myself onto my belly here. Woo! I'm gonna come into a nice Sphinx pose here. So I like to use a block for this one. So we're on our belly. You can begin by just testing out having those elbows directly under your shoulder. If that feels super intense for your lower spine, the compression on those last 2 vertebrae is too much, just walk those elbows out until you feel where it's manageable. And for some, even lying just directly on your belly is enough for the lower spine, okay? So don't sweat where you're at, okay? I like to use a block for my forehead. If you are in more of an upper position, this will benefit for you. If you're in a lower position, you can always change the setting of the block and try for the lower setting. That way you're just supporting your head, and the more you can support your body, the more it will let go. So I place my forehead on my block, and I also press the flesh of my forehead towards my eyebrow line versus my hairline. And that's why I'm triggering into that great reflexology point, your third eye right between your eyebrows. That's just a little bonus for today. So just settling in and getting this nice compression on the lower spine. And now compression is not a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if there's pain. If you have any pain in the lower spine, sharpness, burning, extremely sort of feeling vulnerable where you're sort of clenching your glutes really tight to try to hold that, then you're too deep. So walk those elbows further out in front of you. Lessen the intensity on that lower spine. You want to be somewhere where you're feeling it, but you're not overdoing it. And maybe you need more than this. Maybe your elbows are directly under your shoulders and you're still not feeling much in the lower spine. So another next option for you would be to open up the knees as wide as your mat, bend the knees, and allow the feet to knock together. That will deepen that compression on the lower spine. Okay? If you come to that and you feel like, okay, I thought I wanted to go deeper, but that's too much, no problem. Release the feet, bring them back to that previous stage that you were at. Remembering you want to be just outside your comfort zone. You don't want to be overdoing it. Remembering the true magic in stretching is time. It's not intensity. If you go too intense, your body's going to clench up and it's going to resist. And then you get no benefit out of this. But if you can stay in that rest and digest, stay in that letting go, that soft, that sweet exhale, that's where you're going to get all the benefit. And for some of us, that's really difficult. Some of us are those A personalities that just need to push, push, push. The athletes out there, for those folks, it's hard to just be, it's hard just to be still. And I get that. But with practice, it does become easier and becomes more joyful. And then you really do start to see the true benefits of stillness and what it can do for us, both mentally and physically. And what it does is make us stronger. We can go for a run, we can go for a jog, we can, play sports, and that's all great. It's great for our mind, it's great for our muscles, but the remainder of our body takes a hit from that. The soft tissues of our body
they take a hit every time we work out like that. So what makes up our joints, our ligaments, our tendons, our fascia, our connective tissue, those all get broken down. So they need to be balanced and need to be repaired. And we do that with these medium stretches. And then we support all systems of our bodies in a state of rest. And we know this, we know probably our whole lives the importance of sleep, of rest, right? Our body does lots of repairing when we go into sleep. So these are all facts. So for those who have a hard time with it, you just stay with the facts, knowing that you are making yourself stronger when you can let go and soften and just be. We'll just take 3 more rounds of breath here. If you're truly looking for a little bit deeper version for the last rounds of breath, you can always transition into a seal pose. So bring the palms of the hand onto your mat. The legs come back down to the mat. The hands can come even directly, sort of underneath the shoulders. I'll just take 3 rounds of breath. If you come to that seal and it's like, oh no, wasn't ready for that, just come back to the previous stage, no problem. Seal is a very deep back bend. So if you don't have that natural lumbar spine, or you don't have a regular practice of back bends, this can feel too much, okay? Even for me, if I sort of don't do enough Yin Yoga for a little while, I'll come in and I'll try to do a seal and it's like, no go. So just be gentle and honor where you're at. We'll take 1 more round of breath in whatever version you're in. And then we'll just slowly bring ourselves back down for a moment if you're up in the seal. If you're down on the elbows, you're gonna slowly walk yourself back, and we're all gonna meet in an easy sitting pose here on our seat. Preparing for a nice 90-90 pose here, deep into the hips. So I'm gonna bring the right shin parallel to, it's my edge of the mat, so just parallel with one edge of your mat. Then I'm gonna bring my left shin parallel to the opposite edge, right? So I've got this nice parallel happening with both shins called 90-90 pose, okay? If this is too much and you need to tuck in that left foot a little bit closer to you, that's no problem to find this, okay? Or even with that right foot. Never sweat whether you look exactly. So if I say we're trying to get parallel, that's great if that works for you. If it doesn't, find the adjustment, no problem, okay? From here, we're just gonna take a nice little forward fold. I'm gonna lead down with my chest and my heart. So as I come forward, I'm leading down with that heart, but I'm trying to keep my weight behind me so that as I come down, I'm not pressing all that weight into that front knee. I'm trying to keep the weight into the back hips. So I come down, I like to use a little prop to put my elbows on to begin with, and come down into a nice 90-90. So coming down might be to the palms for you, this might be enough. Maybe to the elbows on a prop, maybe elbows to the floor, or maybe you're one of those people that just flop all the way down, and that's okay too, okay? When you come back in your next life, you'll be stiff like the rest of us. So finding your variation where you feel like you don't have too much pressure in that front knee, but you're getting a nice stretch into that right hip. The closer you walk your hands towards that right foot, the deeper it's gonna get into the hip. Okay, that's another little option. And the closer you bring those hands over that right knee, the softener, is that even a word? And the gentler it will be. So just finding your position and trying to settle in and just enjoy the stretch for that right hip. And just knowing by releasing that tension, we're also releasing those emotions in that junk drawer. So just giving yourself time to let go and really just utilize that breath to help you. So as you inhale, you can fill up that right hip with the inhale. And as you exhale, visualize that tension, visualize those emotions that no longer serve you, visualize them leaving that region. Just let it go, allow it to fall to your mat. Any anger or frustration or irritation that you've been feeling lately, just let it go. It no longer serves you. An emotion really only lasts 90 seconds. Anything after that, it's just suffering that we add to it. It's a story that we add. And sometimes we don't add to it, but we don't let go, right? We stuck it into our bodies physically. And we get really tight in that area because it's all bogged up with that energy. And for some of you, that might sound a little woo-hoo, and that's okay. I kind of felt like that in the beginning of my yoga career too. But it's true, we are energy bodies, and I think we know that. Anyone that's walked into a room and you didn't like the energy in there, you know right away that we must be made of energy. And over the last 20 years, scientists have proved that we are energy bodies, that we do have energy channels in our body. And those emotions are energy, and we store them in our hips. And so just let it go, whether you understand it fully or not. Just taking this moment to allow yourself just to exhale it out. And just stay with that breath. Use that as a tool, as an anchor. We'll just take 3 more rounds of breath. Just letting go and just being. And then in your own time, just slowly working your way back up. We're gonna find a nice little twist here. So I'm gonna take that right foot and cross it over the left foot and cross it over the right thigh here, just for an easy sitting twist. And then I'm just gonna extend that right arm straight out in front of me and just get some nice length happening there, so that when I wrap it around that left leg, I have this sort of a little bit extension happening on that arm, some nice space. I'm gonna take the left hand behind me and just enjoy this gentle little twist here. Just bringing my gaze either to the side, maybe it comes behind you, but just being where it works for you. Remembering to be in that medium zone. We'll just hang out here for about 5 or 6 rounds of breath. And just let go. Enjoy this nice twist for the spine. Making space between all the vertebrae. Doing your best not to collapse into that back hand, but push away from the floor with that left hand. Maybe even feeling the opening occurring through the spine, through the waist. And then when you're ready, we're gonna bring that gaze back first, so the head comes back first, and then you can turn the whole body around. Perfect. We're just gonna uncross that left foot, and we'll find our 90-90 on the other side. So I'm gonna bring that left shin parallel out in front of me, and the right shin parallel to the side of me. Again, making any adjustments if that right foot needs to tuck in a little bit more to make that happen for you. Again, taking a nice inhale, the intention of the weight staying back behind you as you lead down with that heart, finding your version of this forward fold and 90-90. Again, any props, even one for the forehead if you've come down that far, and you can always do that forehead trick again with the flesh towards the brow line. But try not to push it, knowing that over time you will find that little extra space. So if you're not quite down there, or even if you're still really up here, enjoy that. Get some elongation happening through the side body if you're up here. Find the little perks of being in your version. And wherever you're at, you can always close the eyes and really allow yourself to go inward and notice the sensations, notice the benefits happening in your body. And encourage that letting go mindset. And really settle deep down into that rest and digest. Knowing when you're there, all the information being sent to all systems of who you are is one of rejuvenation, of strengthening,
of detoxifying. And that's where we become stronger to fight off disease and illness. If we keep our body in that fight and flight state, we're just opening up the doors. We're allowing pockets of weakness to happen in our body where illness and disease can move in. So it's no surprise that cancers and Alzheimer's and all these diseases are on a rise. And it's not that we just know more about it, it's also that we're living in lives and times that are a lot more stressful, much more fast-paced, in the area of 24-hour news cycle, and cell phones, laptops, iPads. We're always connected, always feel like we need to respond right away to every text, every email. Now people are living on Zoom calls, which are extremely hard on the body. So you really need to find time to counter that, to strengthen the body, strengthen the mind. And again, we only do that in a state of rest. So again, if you found some opening, maybe you're walking yourself closer to that left foot, maybe you've come down a little bit more, or maybe over time it feels like it's become a little bit too much and you need to back off. Just listening to your body and really always just trying to find that middle ground. If you know you're the personality that doesn't push enough, then maybe you push a little bit more. If you know you're the personality that pushes too much, then back off a little bit. Always just trying to find that balance. We'll just take 3 more rounds of breath. Just letting go and softening. Relax the face, soften the jaw. And then just slowly bring yourself back up. We'll find that nice little twist on this side. So I'm crossing that right foot over that left side. I'm going to extend that left arm nice and long, giving me a little extra room here so I can really get a nice hold of that right leg. I'm going to bring that right hand behind me and just begin that gentle little twist. So again, not worrying whether that gaze becomes behind you or if it's out to the side. Just enjoying that twist that you're feeling through the spine, maybe into the chest, maybe the waist, maybe even deepens a little bit into the hip for you. Just soften that right shoulder away from the ear. Maybe even make any adjustment with the gaze down or up to get a nice little stretch in the neck. Knowing there's no right or wrong, just the true knowledge, the true power comes from feeling the sensations and listening to where you need to be. All this that I provide is just guidance. So if you feel like you should be doing something else, then do it, no problem. The best and real teacher is inside you. And my job is just to always help you and encourage you to be listening to that teacher. We'll just take 2 more rounds of breath in your gentle twist. And then again, I'm going to bring my head back first and then my whole self. Nice job. You slowly untwist those feet. I'm going to go long on my mat here for a nice staff forward fold pose here. So I'm going to extend the legs long out in front of me. I like to move that flesh underneath so I make a nice connection with those sit bones. And we're going to come for our final pose here before Savasana into a nice forward fold. So again, I'm going to raise those arms up to the sky, get a nice elongation through the upper body. And as I exhale, I'm leading down with the heart. I'm going to find that natural resistance where I feel like something's blocking a little bit there. And then I'm going to allow myself to fold forward and bow that chin towards the chest. It's up to you. For me, I like to start with more of an engagement in this pose for the first minute when my feet are flexed. I'm holding on to my feet. I'm getting a little bit more yang style stretch here. And then I go into more of a ragdoll, but it's up to you. You can always come right into that ragdoll where you just release the feet. You allow that chin to come towards the chest. The arms are relaxed. So totally up to you which version you prefer. We're here for about 2.5 minutes. So if you're in that more intensive stretch to begin with, I will let you know when I come out of it and come into more of the ragdoll version. But again, just up to you. Listen to your teacher. And just really utilizing that exhale here to find the space, to let go, to soften. Never sweat where you are in a forward fold. Just enjoying the benefits of a forward fold for yourself. In any forward fold, we're calming the mind, calming the nervous system, letting go of stress, anxiety. It's allowing ourselves to support that inner self, support ourselves going inward, making that connection with who we really are. And we're not just those thoughts that go through our head. We're not just that replay that we keep telling ourselves. We're deeper. We're before that. We're the space before the thoughts. So I'm just going to let go of my feet. So if you were holding your feet or your legs and you want to come in for the last minute of that truly yin style ragdoll forward fold here, you can go ahead and do that. Again, just doing what's right for you. Never sweating that somebody else is doing. Just really enjoying who you are and where you're at. In this forward fold, I do encourage you to soften as much as you can through the belly, soften through the face. And just enjoy the benefits of this pose, not only mentally and emotionally, but physically, getting a nice stretch for the whole back line of the body. Our back line of the body is where a lot of our strength comes from. We say the front body, those muscles, those are our show muscles at the front of us. And our back ones, those are the strong muscles, the work muscles. So it's often nice to get this full back body stretch. I can feel it from the soles of my feet to the crown of my head. This one I often hold in the evening for 5, 6, 7 minutes. We'll just take 3 more rounds of breath here in our version. And then just really taking your time here to slowly bring your head back up. And we're just going to roll all the way back down for our final pose, Savasana pentacle pose. We're going to roll all the way onto our backs. If lying on your back is not your friend for your lower spine, you can always place those blocks or pillows behind the backs of the knees, and that will give you a little bit of support and take the strain off the lower spine. Or you can always be on your side or even your belly. Really, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're in a comfortable spot for the last 2 minutes of what is probably the most important pose
in anything that we can do, and it's the ultimate resting pose. It's where we have the ultimate rebuilding, rejuvenating, restoring, realigning of all the systems, all our cells, our connective tissue, our fascia, as well as our mind and our energy, all our meridian lines. We've stimulated them, hopefully unkinked any hose of energy that we had, and now they can just find that perfect new alignment. So you can close the eyes and just allow your physical self to become heavy. Allow your mental self to become light and fluffy with your thoughts. And just soften and let go as much as you can. And just really enjoy this last minute. And just give yourself permission just to be with yourself, just to be supported by the earth underneath you, just to be here. If this feels amazing and you'd like to stay, I encourage you to pause the video and just stay with this Savasana as long as you need, as long as it feels great. Otherwise, you can begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers. You rotate your wrists and your ankles. You can bring your arms overhead for a nice full body stretch. You could bring your knees in towards your chest and just give them a nice little hug. You can even roll a little bit from side to side and just massage that lower spine. And then just rolling onto your side in that fetal position. Take a round or two of breath in that fetal position, just giving your physical body a time to transition. And when you're ready, just slowly bring yourself back up to an easy sitting pose. If you feel a little bit of a head rush as you come up, just bow that head down for a moment and allow that blood to reach the crown of the head. And when you feel balanced, you can slowly bring that head back up. If it serves you, you can bring your palms together in your hands at heart center. You can close the eyes for one last moment and just notice how you feel. All dimensions of who you are, your heart, your physical self, your energy body, your mind, your spirit. And just turn out the corners of your mouth and give yourself a little thank you for offering up your practice today. I hope the practice nourished your mind, your body, and your spirit. Namaste.